The bloody encounter at Trinity River, Texas Rangers versus Comanche Warriors. On January 18, 1837, the Texas frontier bore witness to a fateful and bloody encounter. Along the banks of the Trinity River, a group of Texas Rangers fell victim to a sudden and overwhelming attack by a Comanche war party. This violent confrontation, marked by bravery, desperation, and tragedy, was emblematic of the deep tensions that shaped the American frontier in the early 19th century. It was a clash of cultures, values, and survival instincts that resonated far beyond the immediate aftermath, leaving scars on both sides and cementing its place in the turbulent history of Texas. Central to this tale was Abram Anglin, an 18-year-old survivor of previous Comanche violence who once again found himself on the brink of death. His courage, resilience, and eventual survival symbolized the challenges and spirit of the settlers who dared to carve lives out of the contested lands of Texas. To fully understand the gravity of what happened that day, we must first immerse ourselves in the world of 1830 Texas, a land rife with opportunity, danger, and relentless conflict. A land of opportunity and conflict, Texas in the 1830s was a complex and volatile region, a land where dreams of prosperity often collided with harsh realities. For settlers, it promised fertile soil, wide open spaces, and the hope of a better future. But it was also a land fraught with danger, inhabited by Native American tribes who had called it home for centuries and fiercely resisted incursions by outsiders. The Comanche, in particular, were a dominant force on the Texas plains. Known as the Lords of the Southern Plains, they were master horsemen, skilled strategists, and formidable warriors. Their way of life revolved around the vast, open landscapes of Texas, where they hunted bison, traded, and conducted raids to sustain their communities. The arrival of settlers disrupted this balance as more and more land was taken, game depleted, and sacred spaces desecrated. For the Comanche, the encroachment was not just a threat to their livelihood, but a direct assault on their identity and existence. The Mexican government, struggling to control its northern territories, had encouraged Anglo-American settlement as a buffer against Native American resistance. However, this strategy backfired, as settlers quickly outnumbered Mexican inhabitants and began asserting their independence. The Texas Revolution of 1836 created a new Republic of Texas, but this victory did not resolve the challenges of frontier life. Instead, it intensified conflicts with native tribes who refused to accept Texan claims to their ancestral lands. Amid this chaos, the Texas Rangers emerged as a crucial, though controversial, force. Initially a volunteer militia, the Rangers were tasked with protecting settlers, scouting, and engaging in combat with hostile tribes. While they were celebrated as heroes by many settlers, their actions often escalated tensions, leading to cycles of violence that defined the era. The Parker's Fort raid, a pivotal moment for Abram Anglin. The harsh realities of life on the frontier were not abstract concepts, but deeply personal experiences. Born into a family of settlers, Anglin was no stranger to hardship. However, the event that shaped him most profoundly occurred in May 1836, the infamous Parker's Fort raid. Parker's Fort was a modest settlement, fortified with wooden walls and built to protect the community from potential attacks. The Parker family and their neighbors had carved out a life in the wilderness, relying on cooperation and vigilance. Yet their defenses were no match for the cunning and ferocity of the Comanche. On that fateful day, a large Comanche war party approached the fort under the pretense of peaceful intentions. They requested supplies, food, and water, a tactic often employed to lower settlers' defenses. Initially hesitant, the settlers eventually opened the gates. What followed was a swift and brutal attack. The Comanche overran the fort, killing several men and capturing women and children, including Cynthia and Parker, who would later become a key figure in Texas history. As the mother of Comanche leader Quanah Parker, Abraham Anglin managed to escape the carnage. Fleeing into the wilderness, his survival was a testament to his resourcefulness and willpower, but it came at a cost. The raid left deep psychological scars and a burning resolve to fight back. For Anglin, joining the Texas Rangers was not just a choice, but a necessity, a way to protect others from experiencing the same horrors he had endured. A routine mission turns deadly. By January 1837, Abram Anglin was among a small band of Texas Rangers stationed at Fort Houston. On the morning of January 18th, 6 Rangers set out on what seemed to be a straightforward task, retrieving a group of hogs that had wandered away from the fort. Livestock was a vital resource on the frontier, providing settlers with food and trade goods. Losing animals to the wilderness or predators could have serious consequences for a community's survival. The group consisted of Abraham Manglin, David and Evan Faulconberry, brothers Benjamin W. Douthit, James Hunter, and Columbus Anderson. Together they represented the grit and determination of the settlers. Each man accustomed to the hardships of frontier life, their search led them to the banks of the Trinity River, a lifeline for both settlers and native tribes. After locating some of the missing hogs, Hunter and Douthit decided to return to the fort with the animals, promising to bring back a canoe to aid the others in crossing the river. This decision split the group, a factor that would later prove critical. The remaining Rangers continued their search on foot. As they ventured deeper into the wilderness, they encountered signs of Native American presence. Moccasin tracks imprinted in the soft soil to seasoned frontiersmen. Such tracks were a clear warning of potential danger. However, the Rangers dismissed the threat, assuming the tracks belonged to friendly Cherokee who occasionally passed through the area. Crossing the river and ignoring warnings, undeterred, the Rangers decided to construct a crude raft to cross the Trinity River. This decision, while practical, left them vulnerable. The process of building the raft and transporting it to the water's edge consumed valuable time and energy. By the time they reached the opposite bank, night was falling and the group was exhausted. Seeking shelter, the Rangers found a rocky overhang near the riverbank and settled in for the night. Despite the eerie silence of the wilderness and the unsettling discovery of the tracks, they allowed themselves a measure of rest. It was a critical mistake. Unknown to them, they were being watched. A Comanche war party numbering around 30 warriors had been observing the Rangers' movements. Skilled in stealth and ambush tactics, the Comanche waited for the opportune moment to strike. The ambush, a night of chaos and bloodshed. In the dead of night, the stillness was shattered by the chilling sound of Comanche war cries. The attack was swift and ferocious, catching the Rangers completely off guard. Arrows and bullets rained down upon them, and in the chaos each man fought for his life. David Faulconberry was one of the first to fall, struck by gunfire. Columbus Anderson, though mortally wounded, with injuries to his neck and chest, managed to cry out a warning to his comrades, urging them to flee. His bravery in the face of death gave the others a chance to escape. Abram Anglin, despite being hit in the thigh, displayed remarkable determination. As the Comanche closed in, he threw himself into the icy waters of the Trinity River with his powder horn shattered and pain searing through his body. Anglin swam across the river, evading the arrows and bullets that pursued him. Evan Faulconberry, separated from the group, fought a desperate battle. Using the trees for cover, he managed to kill the Comanche warriors and wound a third. However, he was vastly outnumbered. Realizing that capture was inevitable, Faulconberry reportedly chose to swim into the river, where he drowned rather than face the humiliation and suffering of captivity. The aftermath, loss and resilience. The survivors of the ambush, including the wounded Anglin, made their way back to Fort Houston. Their harrowing tale prompted immediate action. Captain Haggard, the leader of the fort, organized a rescue party to search for the missing men and assess the damage. What they found was grim. David Faulconberry's body lay near the riverbank, covered with grass, a traditional sign of respect or victory left by the Comanche. Columbus Anderson's body was discovered 2 miles upstream, a testament to his determination to warn his comrades. Evan Faulconberry's body was never recovered, though accounts of his bravery endured. The loss of life was devastating for the small community at Fort Houston. The ambush highlighted the constant danger settlers faced and underscored the Comanche's strategic prowess. The Comanche perspective. For the Comanche, the attack was part of a broader struggle to defend their lands and way of life. The arrival of settlers had disrupted their hunting grounds, depleted resources, and brought diseases that ravaged their communities. Raids and ambush were not merely acts of aggression, but strategies for survival and resistance. The Comanches' ability to adapt to their environment and exploit the weaknesses of their enemies made them formidable adversaries. They viewed the settlers not as rightful inhabitants, but as invaders encroaching on their territory. For every raid, there was a story of loss on both sides, a cycle of violence that neither could fully escape. The legacy of Trinity River, the ambush at Trinity River, was more than just a violent skirmish. It was a microcosm of the broader conflict between settlers and native tribes. It exposed the vulnerabilities of the Texas Rangers and highlighted the complexities of frontier life. For Abram Anglin, the experience shaped his future. He continued to serve as a ranger, driven by a desire to protect his community and honor the memory of those who had fallen. His survival became a symbol of resilience, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, the human spirit could endure. For the Texas Rangers, the ambush served as a sobering lesson. It underscored the importance of preparation, vigilance, and respect for their adversaries. Over time, the Rangers evolved into a more organized and professional force, though their actions continued to be a source of controversy. Remembered as part of the complex and often painful history of Texas, they serve as a reminder of the sacrifices made by settlers and the resilience of native tribes. They also highlight the need for understanding and reconciliation as we continue to grapple with the legacies of colonization and expansion. By examining stories like this, we gain a deeper appreciation for the people who lived through these tumultuous times. Their struggles, triumphs, and losses remind us of the complexities of history and the enduring human spirit.